Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. New York Governor Kathy Hochul wants to provide $2.4 billion for the migrant crisis. That's a lot of money that could help veterans, senior citizens, homeless American citizens, children living in poverty, and many others. But the New York governor wants to allocate $2.4 billion for the migrants. However, Mayor Eric Adams of New York City says that $2.4 billion is not enough. He wants more money to cover the cost of taking care of the migrants. Now, isn't that shocking that $2.4 billion is not enough, according to Mayor Adams? In fact, the mayor told New York State lawmakers that the city needs $4.6 billion just to pay for half of its annual costs pertaining to the migrant influx. Last year, Mayor Adams announced budget cuts. And that's because of the migrant crisis. Because the New York City government has to spend massive sums of money on the migrants, there's less money for other things. There's less money for the education sector. In fact, it has been reported that New York City's education department plans to cut $60 million from its school food budget every fiscal year until 2028. In New York, people are feeling the impact of budget cuts, and school lunches are being impacted due to budget cuts, and I should say adversely impacted. And do you know why New York City doesn't have enough money for decent school lunches? Well, obviously, it's because the city is spending massive sums of money on the migrants. And because of that, school lunches in New York City are being adversely affected. And this is what I keep saying. This is what I keep saying all the time. Because of the presence of the migrants, American citizens are now being treated poorly. And Mayor Eric Adams recently blamed the federal government for the city's migrant crisis. Of course, the Biden administration should be blamed for the crisis. I've said that before many times. The Biden administration doesn't secure the border, which is why we have this crisis in our country. Because of Joe Biden's open border policy, the city of New York is facing this crisis. If the border remains open, as time goes by, many aspects of our everyday life will be impacted, and school lunches is just one example. Many popular food items are not available anymore because of budget cuts, and American children are being impacted as a result. When popular items vanish from school lunches, that hurts students. And so I think if this open border policy continues, if the border crisis goes on, people of all ages, not just students, people of all ages in America will be adversely impacted because of this ongoing border crisis. And it's not just New York City. People across the country will suffer because of the border crisis. People in many, many, many communities across the country will feel the impact of this border crisis. Now, the question is, what can we do about it? Well, first, it's important to be vocal. And I am vocal. I am sharing my views through my podcast and my YouTube channel, as well as through my writings. And then it's also important to vote for the right candidates for public office. When President Donald Trump was in office, the priority was to secure the border. After Joe Biden came to power, the border is being kept wide open. And the issue is not just the federal government. Many local officials adopt sanctuary city policies that make the problems worse. like New York City and Chicago. And there are other places. Illinois is a sanctuary state. California is a sanctuary state. So when local and state officials adopt sanctuary policies for the undocumented immigrants, that hurts American citizens. And so people must vote for the candidates who will promise not to spend taxpayer dollars on the migrants. My friends, the choices that we make help determine our future. The choices that we make help determine our country's future. And it's important to remember that. And it's very, very sad to see that New York's school lunches are being impacted because of the open border policy, because of the border crisis. As I said, many popular items are not available for school lunches anymore because of budget cuts in the education sector. And why are the budget cuts taking place? Because the city is spending massive sums of money on the migrants. And so there's less money for other things. There's less money for school lunches. It's really sad to see what's happening in New York City. My friends, thank you for staying connected with me. Thank you for continuing to listen to my podcast. Please let me know if you have any thoughts and comments. Get in touch with me. Share with me your views and opinions. Thanks once again, and I hope to be back again soon with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam.